if the demonic bear breaks through to the third level of spiritual connection, we'll face a life-or-death battle with the serpent tribe. Zhao, when frantically slammed his head on the ground, trying to stay clear-headed. He groaned in despair, feeling utterly helpless. Gods, what absurd thoughts am I having at this critical moment? They said we can only defeat the demonic bear by joining forces, and then they'll eliminate me. This proves the demonic bear's power far surpasses mine. Moreover, how could I possibly absorb the demonic bear right under their noses? Wouldn't that be suicide? Dingyu waited for Zhao when to leave, a cold smile playing on his lips. Foolish junior brother. What a pity these two demonic beasts are only enough for one of us to break through. Otherwise, I might have let you live. After eliminating the demonic bear, Su-He, hearing those words, felt a jolt in his heart. Wait, it seems those two are about to turn on each other. Could there still be a chance to turn the tables? He carefully inched his way towards the mouth of the cave, just as Zhao Wenjue returned. I'll slowly move to the cave entrance, he thought, then secretly observe and wait for the right moment to act. On the other side, Zhao Wenjue was undoubtedly reporting to his senior brother that everything was in place. In less than a week's time, that bear will awaken. Moments later, a terrified scream suddenly echoed from the opposite cave. Bear! There's a bear! Someone yelled in panic. Hurry, run. It's a bear cave. A massive black bear suddenly emerged from the cave, its eyes burning red with fury. It swung its sharp claws, attacking everything around it, sending people fleeing in terror. One person exclaimed in shock, a bear cave? But didn't the immortal elder say it was a snake cave? Xiao Niu yelled as he ran. Father! Run first. Go find the immortal elder. Someone pointed towards the high ground, where two members of the Shizong sect were standing. Someone in the crowd cried out hopefully, Immortal Masters! The two immortal masters have arrived. Hearing the call, Xiao Niu's father turned around and desperately pleaded for help. Immortal Masters! You've arrived just in time. Please save us. Dingyu looked down from above. His eyes filled with contempt and sneered. You lowly peasants caused such a huge disaster, and you dare shamelessly beg for help. Just die there. Enraged, Old Li quickly pulled out an arrow from his back and roared. Bastards! They did this on purpose. They deliberately lured us to the bear's den. Xiao Niu's father was equally furious, bellowing, just because they wanted to kill us to save money. You animals! Old Li knocked the arrow, aiming directly at the Shizong group. You want us dead? You won't live either. The arrow flew like lightning, making Zhao Wen flinch back in surprise. Unfortunately, the arrow missed its mark, only grazing the pouch on his hip. Tearing it open, countless precious elixirs and magical artifacts lay scattered across the pristine snow. Zhao Wenjue surveyed the scene, a cold smile playing on his lips. Excellent shot. Hidden within the shadowy depths of a cave, Su-He looked up, his sharp eyes piercing the darkness, observing the scattered elixirs, mystical talismans, tinkling bells, and glittering jade pendants strewn across the ground. He took a deep breath, his keen sense of smell activated. This scent, it's a human elixir. Could it be a rejuvenation pill? A pill rolled, landing near the cave entrance. Quick as a flash, Su-He flicked the pill down into the cave with his tail. His nimble tail deftly secured the gleaming golden pill. Inhaling deeply, savoring the exquisite aroma, he exclaimed in admiration. What a miraculous pill! Just the smell alone makes me feel invigorated. Zhao Wenjue called out, Hey, senior brother Ding. The contents of my storage pouch have spilled everywhere. Quickly help me gather them. The demon bear is almost here. He saw the ferocious demon bear slaughtering the poor villagers in the distance. Looks like that demon's headed this way. Dingyu muttered to himself. How could they be so careless? He said as he bent down to pick something up, but his thoughts were different. This trash, after finding something good, it ends up in my hands anyway. Zhao Wenjue saw the bear demon with a person in its mouth, its other foot stomping on another person. He couldn't help but admire his senior brother's brilliant plan. Those commoners are about to be wiped out. I didn't expect that old man to last this long. Hearing this, Dingyu laughed heartily, letting out a snort. Being able to sacrifice their lives for the Bu Xie sect, it's not a wasted life for them after all. Suddenly, Zhao Wenjue's tone changed as he called out, Senior brother Ding, you should join them down there. Then he chanted an incantation. By the power vested in me, wind from all four directions. Hearing this, Dingyu abruptly looked up, his voice filled with shock. Zhao Wenjua, holding a talisman, shouted, "Rise!" with Dingyu at the center. The surrounding blizzard intensified, swirling with ferocious power, sweeping him far away, then sending him plummeting down towards a massive bear standing below. Around the monstrous beast, corpses lay scattered across the pristine snow, painting a horrifying scene. Dingyu tumbled head over heels, rolling several times across the icy surface. Hearing the commotion, the bear immediately stood up straight, its eyes glowing blood red as they focused on the source of the noise. Dingyu clutched his remaining arm. It seemed the fall had severely injured one of his arms. He glared furiously at Zhao Wenjua, cursing him incessantly. "Damn it, Zhao Wenjua, you treacherous villain. You dared to harm me. You'll die a horrible death." Zhao Wenjua calmly replied, his voice eerily calm. "Senior brother Ding, watch your words. Such rage will damage your primordial spirit." Zhao Wenjua skillfully manipulated his wind-riding talisman. Hovering in midair, arms crossed, he sneered. "Senior brother, do you know how much effort, how much meticulous planning it took me to orchestrate this little play for you? Don't tell me senior brother doesn't want to claim this beast all for himself. Do you take me for a fool? Now, everything is within my grasp." Dingyu was in excruciating pain, cold sweat drenching him. He cursed inwardly. "You despicable villain." Zhao Wenjua continued to speak. "I don't need the snake demon or the bear demon. I only want your life." With that, he reached out his hand. The ferocious bear demon, its eyes blood red, charged straight towards Dingyu. Zhao Wenjua's savage laughter echoed everywhere. "Ha ha ha. Senior brother Ding, the resources to help you break through are right before your eyes. Come and get them if you dare." Dingyu sat on the ground, gritting his teeth and cursing. "You bastard." He then raised a yellow talisman towards the bear demon, yelling, "By the power vested in me, I summon the executioner." A deafening explosion erupted, sending thick smoke and fire billowing into the sky. Intense flames engulfed the bear demon, causing it to roar in agony. The ground around Zhao Wenjua hovered in midair, his voice deep and resonant. Even in death, he manages to create such chaos. He burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha. As expected of senior brother Ding, his reputation precedes him. Now, I should return to the sect and report this matter. The demon bear has been enraged to the extreme. I don't want to be caught in the crossfire." With that, he turned and left, leaving behind the demon bear roaring madly amidst the raging inferno. As for Dingyu, his entire body was consumed by the blazing flames. After unleashing the explosive curse, Zhao Wenjua's voice echoed from a distance. "What should I say?" So he cautiously poked his head out of the cave. Listening to the sounds of the recent battle, he surmised, "Is the snake man dead? And the demon bear is severely injured as well. This is the golden opportunity for me to turn the tables." He used his tail to grab a medicinal pill and tossed it into his mouth. His body immediately underwent a miraculous transformation. So he swiftly slithered across the pristine white snow. His mouth opened wide, revealing terrifyingly sharp fangs. Cold purple eyes gleamed with ferocity and brutality. "Then it's my turn." So he was about to leave the cave when he suddenly spotted two shimmering golden pills lying on the white snow. For some reason, a gnawing hunger overwhelmed him. "Ah, there are 2 Huiyuan pills left at the entrance of the cave." Sui murmured, "I wonder if taking 3 pills at once would overload my body and prevent full absorption." Unsure, he used his tail to scoop up the 2 pills and quickly pop them into his mouth. "I'll just stash them behind my teeth and save them for a critical moment." Just then, a series of rustling sounds echoed from afar. Sui looked towards the source of the noise and saw a pack of wolves approaching. Each one had fierce, glowing green eyes, radiating a terrifying murderous aura. He said in a low voice, "These wolves must have been attracted here by the smell of blood. Perfect timing. I just finished taking the Huiyuan pill, and I'm feeling hungry again, but I don't have the slightest appetite for human flesh." So he opened his jaws wide, clamping down on the nearest wolf. The surrounding pack was still stunned, too slow to react. As everything happened so fast, so unexpectedly, he thought excitedly, "Well, let's use them as an appetizer." By the time the pack regained their senses, they saw their comrade lying motionless on the ground, its body drenched in fresh blood. So he stuck out his crimson tongue, lapping clean the bloodstains from the corner of his mouth, his gaze fixed on the remaining wolves. Suhi grinned wickedly, fresh blood dripping from his sinister smile onto the pristine snow. "Thanks to the demon god cauldron, I can quickly digest the prey I just swallowed, he thought to himself. But he seemed unsatisfied, believing that a single wolf wasn't enough to satiate his hunger. He frantically lunged at the pack, provoking the remaining wolves into a ferocious counterattack. Looking at the carcass of the wolf he'd torn apart lying on the cold snow, Suhi wondered, what's going on? This hunger is overwhelming. Suhi used his entire body to constrict the wild wolf. Seeing this, the rest of the wolf pack scattered and fled. But somehow he still felt unsatisfied. He tossed and turned uncomfortably. Why am I so ravenous? A demon bear sat resting, recovering its strength. It lifted its paw to lick a wound on a wolf. For some reason, the wolf trembled and backed away towards the bear. Witnessing this, Suhi muttered softly, could it be because there's such a delicious demon bear right before me that just eating wolves can't satisfy this hunger? Suddenly, the demon bear pounced on the wolf, startling it. The wolf didn't have time to react. Suhi watched the scene unfold, whispering in astonishment, seeing the demon bear devouring the wolf. Suhi exclaimed, I can't believe that demon bear is so ferocious even while severely injured. Looking at its fighting prowess when it clashed with the snake catcher, its strength must have reached at least the peak of the 3rd level, and I've only reached the peak of the 2nd level. He rubbed his rumbling belly with his tail, drool dripping uncontrollably, yet he maintained a composed facade, muttering, I can't let food cloud my judgment. I must be cautious. I can't allow myself to fall into danger. But I'm truly starving. Could this be the demon god's desire? Does it want me to devour this demonic bear? Watching the bear demon voraciously consume the wolf, Suhi carefully assessed the situation. Although its cultivation is higher than mine, it appears to be severely injured. Constantly running away will never make me truly strong. The bear demon had spotted Suhi and was slowly advancing towards him. Suhi, he felt he shouldn't remain on the defensive any longer. It had single-handedly defeated the entire wolf pack just now, likely depleting most of its strength. If he was clever and cautious enough, his chances of victory were high. A blizzard surged, obscuring their vision. They lunged at each other, a fierce battle erupting amidst the blinding snowstorm. The ferocious bear snatched Suhi midair and brought him close to its dripping fangs. Suhi struggled frantically, a single thought consuming him. I have to be stronger. I have to fight. Suhi sunk his teeth into the bear's vulnerable spot, its eyes, and simultaneously slammed his tail into its chin, making the beast roar in pain. Enraged, the bear flung Suhi away. Suhi saw the bear slump to the ground, frantically rubbing its eyes, groaning in agony. Suhi was thrown hard into the thick snow, plowing a furrow in the ground. He nearly blacked out. So painful. This bear is 10 times stronger than that Shan Yu Yao before. But thankfully I blinded it. Things will be much easier now. Just one more blow. No. Suddenly, Suhi collapsed, exhausted. The effects of the pill seemed to have worn off. His body began to stiffen again. With lightning speed, he used his tongue to retrieve a hidden elixir from within his teeth. He then swallowed it whole. As he swallowed, Su Ruan muttered, one more divine pill, and my body will surely be warm again. Sure enough, as inner strength surged through him, he immediately bent his body, lowering his head to the ground to gather momentum. Su Ruo shot forward like a whirlwind. These minor injuries are nothing, he thought. Su Ruo sank his teeth into the ferocious bear's throat with all his might, making it roar in pain. The roar echoed throughout the dense forest. I'll deal with this beast first, then tend to my wounds. The ferocious demon bear, already blinded in both eyes, now had its throat bitten by Su Ruo, the excruciating pain causing its massive body to thrash violently, sending Su Ruo flying in a dizzying spin. Su Ruo was astonished by his opponent's relentless strength. Impossible. It's blind in both eyes, yet still so ferocious. The monstrous bear flailed its paws wildly, suddenly seizing Suhi in its grasp. Its razor-sharp claws raked across him, shredding Suhi's flesh, sending searing pain through his bones. Art, it hurts. That was a powerful blow. My bones must be shattered. Suhi's eyes turned icy, his teeth gritted. No, I can't let go. I won't give up until I've ripped its throat out. With his remaining strength, Suhi bit down hard on the bear's throat. The beast roared in agony. Rawr! Only one thought remained in Suhi's mind. Don't let go. I have to survive. Die, you beast. Mortally wounded, the bear thrashed and flung Suhi away. He tumbled across the icy snow. Tossed like a rag doll, Suhi groaned in pain. Ugh, it hurts so much. Seeing the bear collapse, Suhi muttered, I tore its throat out. It won't last much longer. Now, throwing rocks from this distance won't be very effective. Thinking that, he quickly wrapped his tail around a large tree trunk. Let's try using this. Suhi used all his might, slamming the sharp end of the tree trunk directly into the ferocious demon bear's head. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the pristine white snow around his opponent's body crimson. Suhi observed the motionless demon bear in front of him, muttering, now it's definitely done for. But to be on the safe side, he decided, I'll circulate my chi to heal my wounds and assess the situation first. But before he could circulate his chi, strange rustling sounds suddenly echoed around him. So he raised his head to listen, wondering, what's that sound? The pack of wolves from before reappeared. He angrily roared, damn it, these cunning wild wolves. Looking at the wolves lurking around, Suhi growled menacingly, get lost. Don't even think about scavenging anything here. This is mine. Don't you dare dream of taking my spoils. Seeing the ferocious wolf pack undeterred by his intimidation, the wound on Suhi's head continued to bleed profusely. Left with no other choice, Suhi was forced to swallow his last medicinal pill. As he swallowed the pill, he thought to himself, I have no choice but to use this last Huiyuan pill. I must annihilate these beasts. 2 hours passed, and the sky remained as clear as it was at the beginning. The snow continued to fall silently, blanketing the barren trees in a thick layer of white. Looking at the mangled corpses of the wolves he had slain, their bodies scattered everywhere, staining the white snow crimson, Suhi gasped for breath, trudging heavily through the snow. A torn piece of cloth clenched between his teeth. Exhaustion washed over him. I should be safe now, he told himself. With practiced skill, Suhi used his tail and mouth to deftly weave the scrap of cloth into a long, sturdy rope. He looked towards the enormous demon bear's carcass lying motionless on the ground, lightly dusted with snow. He calculated silently. The Huiyuan pill's potency wouldn't last much longer. Covered in wounds, he needed to find a safe haven to refine the inner core and avoid being tracked by snake hunters. So he dragged the massive body of the demon bear with his tail. Along the way, he stumbled upon the corpses of villagers scattered across the snowy ground. Witnessing the grim scene, he couldn't help but sigh heavily. Bodies lay everywhere, unsure how many cycles of reincarnation they'd endured to be fortunate enough to be reborn as humans. Yet their lives ended in this desolate, frigid wasteland. Passing a body, Suhi paused, taking a closer look. It was Xiao Nio's father, lying motionless on the ground. Da Huang and Er Huang lay curled up beside him, covered in a thick blanket of snow. But upon closer inspection, he found no wounds. It seemed the two dogs had been there for a long time. Suhi racked his memory. This was the father of that young boy from years ago. But now he was dead. Why aren't you running? Suhi warned, you're going to freeze to death out here. With that, he touched his tail to the tail of one of the dogs. But he was horrified to find its body stiff. He murmured, it's frozen solid. Witnessing the two loyal dogs who stayed by their master's side until death, a deep sorrow welled up inside Suhi. Your master is dead, yet you still refuse to leave? A strange, indescribable feeling crept into his mind. So he trudged along, dragging the carcass of the massive bear he'd torn apart along the way. As he walked, he pondered, after this brutal battle, only I, the most fearsome and cunning, remain. I must live well too. He thought to himself, no matter what the future holds, in a hidden cave somewhere, jagged obsidian rocks jutted out everywhere, the damp air causing moss to cover every surface. This was the cave that Suhi had worked so hard to find. Suhi's voice echoed from outside the cave. This cave is actually a hidden water pool, difficult for ordinary people to discover. It'll be much safer here. So he used his tail to grab a large piece of bear meat, bringing it up to his mouth to savor. He opened his jaws wide, taking a powerful bite. As he ate, he continuously mumbled praises about its deliciousness. While I can still move, quickly refine this bear demon's demonic power. So fragrant. This meat is truly superb. No wonder the demon god cauldron is always crazy about it. The demon god cauldron within he began to heat up. He carefully sensed the change. It's starting to absorb. That familiar feeling is rushing back. He exclaimed and cheered in delight. On his tail, a few brilliant golden scales suddenly appeared. He looked at his tail, moved to tears. Spirit Communication Stage 3. I've finally broken through to Spirit Communication Stage 3. Suhi rubbed his tail against his face with a delighted expression, his face flushed with pleasure. A look of pure joy spread across his features. Not only that, but he had also reached the peak of the third level of spiritual connection. 10 shimmering golden scales had also grown on his tail. Truly, the greater the storm, the rarer the fish. This battle had been well worth it. Suhi suddenly recalled the classic tale of Journey to the West. He yearned to be like Sun Wukong, the legendary Monkey King, wearing the golden circlet, wielding the Rui Jingu Bang, clad in shining golden armor, standing at the pinnacle of life. Only, he couldn't understand why in that heroic image there appeared a tiny grasshopper, perched on his head. Suhi closed his eyes again, drifting back into a pleasant dream. Perhaps by next spring, he too could conquer the mountains and forests, becoming a ruler of his own domain. 3 months later, as winter gave way to spring, the mountains and forests shed their winter coats of white snow, donning a fresh, vibrant green, replaced by a vibrant, verdant green brimming with life. The frozen stream had thawed. The ice melted, and the gurgling water trickled through the rocks, singing a spring melody. Suhi woke from his long winter slumber. He patted his face a few times with his tail, water droplets clinging to the cave, walls falling onto his head, rousing him completely. Suhi let out a long yawn, thinking to himself, has spring arrived already? He was much different now. Suhi had grown to 8 cun long, 11 shimmering golden scales adorning his body. Suhi used his divine sense to observe the scenery outside the cave, lost in thought. Several months had passed. Not only had his body grown larger, but his divine sense had also become stronger, able to see much farther. Everything outside was within his range of perception. He muttered, there seem to be 2 wild boars nearby. I'll go find something to line my stomach first, stretch my limbs a bit. Suhi shot out like an arrow, attacking a wild boar. The boar only managed a squeal of oink oink before expiring. He looked at the dead boar lying on the ground. Blood stained the ground. Suhi looked at the remaining boar, trembling uncontrollably. He suddenly noticed its rather large belly. Surprised, Suhi exclaimed, could it be it's a female? Or is it pregnant? Can't eat that. Then, I'll eat the piglets inside to satisfy my hunger. Suhi suddenly remembered something. A few months ago, he had gained a new and incredibly useful piece of knowledge. It was ecological balance. Suhi rolled the dead male boar away, leaving the pregnant female boar with a giant question mark hovering over its head. It must be wondering why the snake had spared its life. Suhi slithered away, deep in thought. I can't go back to the village now. So I have to find a way to be self-sufficient, to be self-reliant on this mountain. Just claiming the mountain as my own isn't enough. I need to continuously hunt, but not kill the young. Suhi found a flat area to enjoy his boar feast. While eating, he used the surrounding stones to illustrate, listing the animals in the forest. He murmured to himself, on this mountain, there are roughly 29 cicad deer, 20 wild boars, 30 roe deer, and hundreds of rabbits. Not to mention the monkeys, deer, wild goats, and wolves, totaling over 100 animals. As long as I practice moderation and don't overindulge, and plan my hunt strategically, I won't have to worry about food or money. The young man savored the last bite of his meal, then turned his gaze towards the river ahead. Dusk had fallen, the sun slowly disappearing behind the towering mountains, blanketing the surroundings in a magical, hazy twilight mist. Suhi pondered deeply. But the path of cultivation can't rely solely on these things. The lesson from last time taught me that. Cultivation will inevitably be filled with countless opportunities, but also fraught with danger. It's time for me to return to my homeland. Somewhere, countless snakes of all sizes were slithering and crawling everywhere, one sliding over another, creating a chaotic scene. This was the Valley of 10,000 Snakes. True to its name, this place was home to tens of thousands of snakes, a veritable kingdom of serpents. In the middle of the cave stood a massive tree, vibrant with all sorts of colors, its trunk twisting in bizarre shapes, creating a truly mystical scene. Countless snakes were fixated on this magical tree, their gazes unwavering. Hissing echoed throughout the cave, heralding the arrival of spring, the season of rebirth and renewal, and also the mating season for snakes. So he kept his upper body perfectly still, like a statue, but his tail swayed and thrashed restlessly. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The sensation of Xiao by she coiled around his body was indescribable. She was seducing him with her soft, supple movements. But Suhi told himself, I am a snake with an iron will. I cannot be swayed. Every time I return, Xiao Bai she seeks me out like this. Unable to bear rejecting her, he gently nudged Xiao Bai she's face away with his tail, whispering to her softly, Sadly, one of us is a celestial being, the other a demon. Immortals and demons are worlds apart. From now on we must part ways. Sui glanced at the other snakes. They were looking at him with inviting, yearning eyes. Sui took in his surroundings, letting out a long sigh. If this were me a year ago, I would have been preoccupied with finding a mate, shamelessly spreading my seed everywhere. But ever since I gained sentience, I've lost interest in such trivial desires. My return to the 10,000 Snake Valley has only one purpose, cultivation. Sui gazed towards the luminous giant tree in the center of the cave, his voice filled with excitement. There it is, the snake fruit. It only bears fruit once every 3 years. This spring is the time it ripens. If I can consume it, my cultivation will greatly improve. It's especially beneficial for us snakes. He recalled what happened 3 years ago. It was by accidentally swallowing an unripe snake fruit that I gained my current sentience. If I can eat all 3 this time, I wonder if I can break through to the 4th level of spiritual understanding. Looking at the plump, ripening snake fruits hanging from the branches, so he was filled with hope. Once I reach the middle stage of spiritual understanding, I'll be able to use some magic, not completely reliant on physical strength like before. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared at the cave entrance. Zhao Wenjua's voice rang out. Senior Sister Song, this is the 10,000 Snake Valley. That's Senior Brother Ding, and I discovered earlier. The snake fruit tree is right inside the valley. Suhi immediately used his divine sense to observe the outside and exclaimed in panic, Damn it, someone's coming. Suddenly, he froze when he heard a familiar voice. The 2 gradually entered the 10,000 Snake Valley. It turned out to be Zhao Wenjua and a stunning woman in bright red clothing named Song Shiwu. Zhao Wenjua's face was filled with regret. It's a pity that Senior Brother Ding, to save me, he trailed off. Song Shiwu interrupted him. Let bygones be bygones. Don't bring up again. This time, you will redeem yourself. Recognizing the acquaintances, Suhi thought to himself, those pesky snake people again. Zhao Wenjua flattered his senior sister. Senior sister, we're almost at Snake Valley. This snake fruit harvest will surely all belong to you. Song Shiwu politely declined upon hearing this. There's no need for that. I can't possibly take everything for myself. Just 2 snake fruits will be enough for me. Zhao Wenjua lowered his voice in gratitude. Thank you, senior sister. Suddenly remembering something, Zhao Wenjua quickly added a warning. But senior sister, wherever there are rare spiritual herbs, there will be ferocious beasts guarding them. We must be extremely careful. Song Shiwu covered her face with a cloth, then lightly sprinkled some yellow powder on Zhao Wenjua. She said softly, Don't worry, we have Realgar on us. I also borrowed a very powerful magical tool from Master. Song Shiwu rubbed her thumb and index finger together, analyzing. The only snake demon here is the old Snake King. If he dares to come, I'll just take his liver for medicine. Suhei hung his head low, listening to their conversation and understanding everything, his heart filled with rage. They came here for the snake fruit, and even brought a magical tool to deal with him. What should I do? Should I run away? I asked myself, then immediately dismissed the idea. No, the divine fruit is about to ripen. If I flee now, wouldn't I? They'll definitely be fighting over the spoils. Suhi recalled the recent battle with the ferocious bear demon, feeling quite confident in his current strength. He had reached the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual connection realm, and those snake people were unlikely to be stronger than him. Remembering the terrified expression of the eel demon from before, Suhi felt even more certain. That eel demon and the bear demon had once annihilated this snake people tribe. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past, carrying a strange scent. So he quickly covered his nose with his tail. Wait, something fell off. Ugh, what a horrible smell. He immediately jumped into the water, sending water splashing everywhere. This smell was too overpowering. Better hide first and observe the situation. Maybe the 2 sides would clash. With his past experiences, Suhi, coming to a firm conclusion, that conflict is simply human nature. Despite being submerged underwater, Suhi could still smell that foul odor lingering around his nostrils. He opened his mouth amidst the water, his expression like he was about to suffocate. The other two gradually approached his hiding spot. Zhao Wenjua's voice rang out, "Senior sister Song. What if the old Serpent King doesn't show up?" Song Shiyu crossed her arms and replied with a cold laugh. "If it doesn't appear, we'll just pluck the serpent fruit directly. But I'd rather it show itself. After all, the old Serpent King has lived for over 10 years. Its lifespan is nearing its end. It needs the serpent fruit to prolong its life." Too bad for Suhi. The closer they got, the more uneasy he felt. When he couldn't bear it any longer, he had to open his mouth and flee for his life. Reaching a bend, Suhi surfaced, gasping for air. But that strange scent still lingered faintly in the air. Suhi instinctively covered his nose with his tail, inwardly complaining, "You're the one who's about to die. Your whole family is about to kick the bucket. My body is clearly strong and growing steadily. That woman must be talking nonsense." He saw the two people standing near the base of a serpent fruit tree, so he suddenly recalled their words. A flicker of doubt crossed his mind. "But the villagers have always called me Old Black Snake. This is strange, but now's not the time to think about that. They're about to pick this serpent fruit." Song Shiyu suddenly signaled for Zhao Wenjua to stop. She crossed her arms and said, "Hold on, don't go near there. It's about to come out." Hearing this, Zhao Wenjua looked around and asked, "Where?" Hidden behind a nearby bush, Suhi broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing those words. His heart pounded in his chest. "Impossible. Has she discovered me?" Suddenly, faint rustling sounds came from the nearby ground. Cracks spiderwebbed across the ground, sending shards of rock flying. Booming echoes grew louder, shaking the very air. A massive fissure, a gaping maw in the earth appeared. Then, a deafening explosion ripped through the world, shaking it to its core. From behind, Song Shiyu's voice rang out, sharp with warning, "Get out of the way." A gigantic black serpent, its scales like polished obsidian, erupted from the earth. Song Shiyu executed a graceful mid-air flip, her movements fluid and precise. A cold humph of disdain escaped her lips. "Old black serpent, you finally decided to show yourself." Suhi gaped at the terrifying scene unfolding before him, his eyes wide with shock. His jaw dropped, words failing him in a comical display of speechless awe. Song Shiyu hovered in the air, a figure of majestic power, facing down the colossal serpent. Watching this, understanding dawned on Suhi. So this is the true Serpent King. Does that make me a mere imitation? Were all those previous storms caused by this old Serpent King? His reputation precedes him, striking fear into the hearts of all. Then, weakened by age, he disappeared. And just by chance, I appeared. Song Shiyu raised her hand, chanting an incantation, summoning her spirit beast. A mass of brown slime suddenly appeared. Song Shiyu flung her hand towards Lao Shiwang. The mass rapidly expanded, engulfing the open mouth of Suhi, who was gawking at the fight. "Whoa, they're fighting." Lao Shiwang whipped his head around, snapping up the brown mass and crushing it between his fangs. Song Shiyu immediately leaped back. Suhi marveled to himself. The snake tribe is truly formidable this time. Lao Shiwang is so old. Can he really hold his own? Song Shiyu then produced a small bell, throwing it towards Lao Shiwang and shouting, "Soul-subduing bell." Witnessing this, Suhi thought to himself, this woman has brought out another magical treasure. Not giving Lao Shiwang a moment to catch his breath, she summoned another magical artifact, yelling, "Quake the 8 directions." Lao Shiwang, affected by the sound from the artifact, felt immense discomfort and roared in pain. His massive body thrashed violently, sending rocks and debris flying, creating a thick cloud of dust. Even from a distance, Suhi was affected by the aftershock. He clutched his head and groaned in discomfort. Arg, what the hell was that? The piercing sound felt like it was tearing his eardrums apart. The girl continued her relentless assault, shouting, "Lu Rinshao." Countless sharp, rose-colored spikes shot forward. The spikes repeatedly pierced the Serpent King's head, but seemed to cause no damage whatsoever. Witnessing this, the Serpent King flew into a rage, letting out an angry hiss. Seeing her attacks prove completely useless against the Serpent King, Song Shiyu couldn't help but admire. Its scales are incredibly tough. If we could strip off those scales, we could forge an unparalleled armor. Zhao Wenjua, standing beside her, praised without hesitation. "Senior sister is truly formidable, but I fear you alone cannot defeat this black serpent. Allow me to assist you." Song Shiyu nodded in agreement. She flew down and signaled to Zhao Wenjua. Zhao Shidi quickly used the wind blade shield. While battling the old Snake King, he immediately obeyed the command. Yes, Shiji, let's finish off this old demon together. The two coordinated seamlessly, their swords dancing in harmony, attacking the old Snake King simultaneously. Powerful surges of turquoise spiritual energy continuously pierced the old demon's tough body. Noticing the old Snake King weakening, his fighting strength clearly declining, Zhao Wenjua laughed triumphantly. Shiji, your move is truly formidable. This old black snake demon is about to meet his end. The wind blade shield truly lives up to its reputation. Witnessing the fierce battle, Suhi secretly pondered. Could this be a powerful magical weapon of the humans? This woman is far stronger than the human I encountered last time. He cautiously poked his head out to observe, witnessing his own kind gradually falling into a disadvantageous position. Sui pondered deeply. The old Snake King situation is extremely unfavorable. Should I intervene or wait until they're finished fighting and then snatch the snake fruit and run? But the snake fruit isn't ripe yet. Eating it might not have any effect. With that thought, Sui used his tail to coil around a large nearby rock. Just go for it. They're all Snake Clan anyway. They'll help it in the shadows. Suddenly, Suhi heard a strange noise coming from the distance. He looked towards the source of the sound and saw the snake fruit tree shaking violently. Suhi exclaimed in surprise. Huh? Something unusual seems to be happening over by the snake fruit tree. Witnessing the strange sight, he shouted, "Who's there?" It turned out that behind the snake fruit tree, a man was acting furtively. He used both his hands, struggling to uproot a part of the snake fruit tree's roots. Seeing that he was about to succeed, he laughed triumphantly. When the snipe and the clam grapple, the fisherman profits. Luckily, thanks to those snake people luring the old Snake King away, this snake fruit tree will belong to me. Witnessing this scene, Suhi quickly shouted, "Stop!" He rushed forward, ignoring the danger, and yelled, "You bastard! How dare you dig up the snake fruit tree? You're courting death!" Hearing the shout, the man panicked and used all his strength to hug the base of the tree, causing the entire snake fruit tree to be ripped from the ground. He looked up, his eyes filled with terror, and let out a scream. What the hell? Witnessing him rip the tree out by its roots, Suhi roared in fury. Even when hunting, people leave a way out for their prey, but you pull out the entire root? Damn it, you beast! The more he thought about it, the more enraged he became. He opened his massive jaws, intending to devour the man. But because the man was clinging tightly to the tree trunk, the entire tree was pulled into his mouth as well. Suhi was horrified, but he couldn't stop now. I'm dead. I swallowed the whole tree. The tree trunk was too large, so he tried to open his jaws as wide as possible, but he still couldn't swallow it. He groaned in pain. It hurts. It hurts. So he felt his body begin to transform. The leaves had been completely digested. Ugh, this feels awful. My stomach is swelling up. It's going to explode. I can't take it anymore. So he could only contract his stomach, trying to force the tree back out. The serpent fruit tree was launched far away. He sighed in relief. Ugh. I threw up, feeling the immense energy surging within him. Suhi roared, his incantation echoing. Heaven and earth are the game board. All beings are merely pieces. Demon God Cauldron. Awaken. He observed the demon god cauldron within his body brimming with energy. Suhi exclaimed in astonishment. What happened to the demon god cauldron? It has reached the third level of spiritual understanding. Great perfection. He breathed a sigh of relief. That was close. It wasn't poison, but overwhelmingly potent energy. So he looked towards the serpent fruit tree. Only the trunk and the fruits emitting a mystical shimmering light remained. He muttered, "The leaves? I devour them all. Could that frenzy have been caused by those leaves?" The herb gatherer digested them instantly upon consumption. But the demon god cauldron needs a long time to refine the energy from the leaves. Thinking this, the giant serpent clamped its jaws around the tree trunk and swam across the river. As it swam, it murmured, "There's no time to ponder these matters. I must leave this place quickly. I absolutely cannot let the serpent fruit tree fall into their hands." On the other side, the old serpent king had been utterly defeated. Lao Shiwang's massive body was torn to shreds, fresh blood staining the ground crimson. Zhao Wenjue let out a soft sigh, like a gentle breeze passing by. He casually sat on a severed piece of Lao Shiwang's body, praising, "Senior Sister Song truly lives up to her reputation. Her strength is extraordinary. In less than a stick of incense, she defeated this ferocious Lao Shiwang demon." Although victorious, Song Shiwu wasn't unscathed. Her sleeves were torn in several places, and her body was stained with blood. She glanced at Zhao Wenjue, her eyes probing. "Where did that little rascal run off to?" Despite her inner thoughts, she said coldly, "Of course. But junior brother Zhao seems to have done nothing at all. Come on, let's go find the serpent fruit. It's time to harvest the serpent fruit." Before them was a deep chasm. Surrounded by scattered rocks and debris, the serpent fruit tree was nowhere to be seen. Both of them gasped in astonishment. What's going on? Where did the serpent fruit tree go? Song Shiwu started to speculate. No wonder that little punk. And yet, she only angrily exclaimed, "Despicable! Who in the world could have done this?" Zhao Wenjue's demeanor was much calmer. If senior sister wanted to monopolize this serpent fruit, you could have just said so. Was there any need for such shady, underhanded tactics? Song Shiwu spun around, arms crossed, and shouted, "Junior brother Zhao, what do you mean by that? How dare you falsely accuse me?" Zhao Wenjue calmly replied, "That's exactly what I mean." Zhao Wenjue adjusted his face veil and continued, "Senior sister, why don't you call out your accomplice who stole your serpent fruit? I promise I won't tell master." She seemed to find this amusing, scoffing, "I have no accomplice. If it wasn't you, then was there some other expert?" Zhao Wenjue said scornfully, "Another expert? Do you take me for a 3-year-old? The air between them grew thick with tension, making it hard to breathe. From afar, Suhi silently observed the situation with his divine sense, his heart filled with glee. Excellent. They suspect each other of betrayal and are about to clash. Fight! Fight! Zhao Wenjue took out a circular jade pendant, shimmering with an emerald green light. This jade is called the Transmission Jade Pendant, a common treasure in our Bu Xie sect. If senior sister still stubbornly refuses to admit it, then I will invite master to settle this. Hearing Zhao Wenjue's threat, Song Shiwu remained defiant and unyielding. She retorted loudly, "Go ahead and call him. See who's afraid." Suddenly, a strong hand appeared, gripping Zhao Wenjue's wrist that held the jade pendant. The owner of the hand shouted, "Enough!" Zhao Wenjue, upon seeing the face of the person before him, exclaimed in shock, "This senior disciple is Mu Yun." The person opposite spoke, his expression serious. "Master foresaw your actions, so he secretly sent me to follow and protect you. I just witnessed your argument. It was truly unseemly." Zhao Wenjue still seemed skeptical of the senior disciple. Could it be that digging up the serpent fruit tree really wasn't your doing? Why didn't you let him finish? Mu Yin immediately interrupted. "I didn't do it. Another expert was responsible. Moreover, he's incredibly cunning. He manipulated an ordinary person to dig up the tree and then appeared later to assist." Mu Yun's eyes turned cold. If that weren't the case, I would have sensed any fluctuation of spiritual energy and immediately given chase. Mu Yin placed his hand on the ground, probing. A green light appeared, then gradually spread outwards. He murmured, "To investigate now, can we only rely on these footprints?" The footprints vanished without a trace. Zhao Wenjue, witnessing this, anxiously asked, "What do we do now?" Mu Yun remained focused, his gaze fixed on the ground, carefully examining the remaining traces. "Don't worry, as long as he's alive, I'll find him." Song Shiwu voiced his support for Mu Yun. "That goes without saying. With senior brother's 6th level Qi refining cultivation, he'll definitely catch the tree thief." Suhei, overhearing the conversation, trembled violently. He stammered in terror, "Sixth level Qi refining. How can I possibly stand against that? With a single wave of his hand, I'd be dead. This cave seems deep enough." He thought to himself, hatching a desperate plan. "If I temporarily seal my divine sense, even a peak Qi refining expert might not be able to find me." Just as he thought this, Suhei suddenly froze, catching a familiar scent. He turned his head, wondering, "What's that smell?" Following the strange aroma, Suhei saw the serpent king fruit was emitting waves of delightful fragrance, making one's soul feel incredibly relaxed and at ease. Seeing the ripe serpent king fruit exuding its rich aroma, Suhei blurted out, "Holy shit." On the other side, Mu Yin was also drawn in by this enticing scent. Is the serpent king fruit about to ripen? He immediately alerted his companions to the strong, ripe smell of the Serpent King fruit emanating from deep underground. Zhao Wenjue let out a surprised huh. Suddenly, one of Mu Yun's subordinates used Earth Dawn technique, diving straight into the ground. Witnessing this, Sui couldn't help but be startled. He's gone down. Mid-stage cultivators all possess magical techniques. This is the Earth Dawn technique among the 5 elements techniques. I'm afraid it's too late. Sui became frantic, utterly frantic, using his tail to pluck ripe Serpent King fruits and shove them into his mouth. He thought to himself, swallow them all first, then worry about it later. Gobble them down and get out of here, Sui frantically yelled. Heaven and earth are a chessboard. All beings are mere pieces. This demonic god cauldron, refined for me. The demonic god cauldron opened its mouth like a ravenous beast, devouring every stream of pure energy the serpent fruit offered. Sui urged anxiously, faster, refine it faster. I beg you. Mu Yin descended from the sky, discovering a tiny hole in the ground where traces of Su He's escape remain. He let out a cold laugh. Try to run. Are you? Your Earth Dawn technique is quite impressive. I just wonder what your cultivation level is. Mu Yin popped a small pill into his mouth, sneering slightly. But no matter, I have an ancestral treasure. As long as you're not a foundation establishment cultivator, I can find you. Mu Yin dug into the earth where Su He had escaped, his voice dropping to a chillingly low tone. Then, you shall die. His eyes bloodshot, he used his Earth Dawn technique and burrowed into the ground. Which petty thief dares steal the sacred treasure of our Shi Zong sect? You won't escape your doom today. Sensing his pursuers closing in, Su He lowered his voice and muttered, they're right on our tail. Can they burrow underground to chase us? He then urged the Yao Shunding. Don't dawdle. Refine the snake fruit quickly. If you don't, we're both dead. Do you understand? The Yao Shunding's mouth gradually widened to its maximum, absorbing the snake fruit's pure energy. Witnessing this, Su He was ecstatic. Its mouth opened so wide. It seems the Yao Shunding really understands me. Sui's body began undergoing a miraculous transformation. Golden energy coursed through his veins. Fangs sprouted, muscles bulged, and shimmering golden dragon scales emerged. A completely new Su He, a reborn Su He, was about to emerge. He spat out the snake fruit he'd been holding in his mouth and roared, Spirit Communication Stage 4. Breakthrough. Mu Fun, who had caught up, froze upon witnessing this scene. He was speechless with rage, fury choking his words. Damn it, I wasted half a day chasing, and it turns out it wasn't a cultivator, but just a demonic snake. But looking at the current situation, Su He was holding the snake fruit tree firmly in his mouth, ready to escape. Mu Yin pondered, sensing something unusual. This snake, at first glance, seemed to have only just broken through to the mid-stage spirit communication realm. Yet before the fight, it knew to pick the fruit and run. This kind of sharp intellect, perhaps even a great demon of the Foundation establishment realm might not possess. As Su He fled, Mu Yun immediately gave chase. He couldn't let this demon escape. He had to capture it alive and bring it back to the sect for thorough research. Surely, a handsome reward and great merit awaited him. Su He slithered away at lightning speed, rejoicing inwardly. He had finally broken through to the 4th level of the mid-stage spirit communication realm. The number of golden scales on his tail had also increased significantly, and he could feel his strength growing. Confidence swelled in his chest. This time he would definitely escape this dangerous situation. But suddenly, Mu Yun behind him whipped out a shimmering golden robe, radiating an extraordinary aura, seemingly brimming with immense power. The triumphant smile that was about to bloom on Su He's face was instantly extinguished. Inwardly, he groaned. This brat not only knew magic arts, but also possessed a magical treasure. Mu Yin flung the golden rope forward, shouting, Go! A high-grade spiritual treasure. This is the Shuensho scroll. The golden rope rapidly expanded, stretching dozens of feet, hurtling towards Su He. Su He spun around, cold sweat pouring down his back, thinking to himself, what a terrifying pressure. This magical treasure is no different from a divine binding rope. Seeing the rope closing in, Su He knew that if he were bound, he would surely die. With that thought, he hurriedly spat out the snake fruit tree, contorting his body to dodge, and simultaneously whipped his tail at the golden rope with tremendous force. Sever, he roared. But for the first time, His powerful tail failed to deliver the expected result. Suhi was astonished as he watched his massive tail easily slip free from the binding rope. He saw Mufan retract the rope and then swiftly launch it back towards him. Suhi sternly questioned, "What's going on?" "Unbelievable. My golden dragon scales couldn't even break it, let alone deflect it." Seeing Suhi's failed counterattack, Mu Yun sneered coldly. "This high-level spiritual treasure. Forget a mid-stage spirit communication beast. Even a late-stage beast would be forced to submit." Su Shoujuqing, idiom meaning to be captured without a fight. Suhi was enraged. He remembered that magical treasures were controlled by divine sense. Suhi immediately summoned the divine dragon. A dazzling light radiated from the divine dragon in all directions, exuding an unparalleled majesty. "If that's the case, I will erase your divine sense." Muyin witnessed this and scoffed. Trying to resist my divine sense? Futile. It's impossible." He tightened his grip on the golden rope, preparing for his next move. With a smug yet slightly naive expression, he declared, "This taming ring was personally refined by me. Its spiritual sense is fortified, inviolable, unless a foundation establishment stage cultivator intervenes. It's practically impossible to break. A small fry like you." The taming ring shot straight towards Suhi, sending surrounding debris flying. Suhi immediately changed his tactics. He held the golden thread in his mouth and quickly swallowed it. Suhi smacked his lips, muttering, "If I can't erase the spiritual sense, then I'll use my body to imprison it." The deeper the taming ring went into his body, the more Suhi felt like he was burning alive. The excruciating pain made him groan. "It hurts. Ugh. Fortunately, my skin is thick. I just need to endure it a little longer. If it can't pierce through, he'll definitely give up. After all, controlling this thing consumes a lot of spiritual energy." Muyin hadn't expected his opponent to have such a move. Watching the beast taming ring slip from his grasp, he flew into a rage, chasing after it with a roar. "You damn beast! How dare you swallow my magical treasure? You monster! Stop!" Beast controlling ring, pierce it. Seeing Mu Yun's ferocity, Suhi was even more determined to escape. Only a fool would stay and take a beating. Half an hour later, the chase was still on. The earth and rocks in the 10,000 Snakes Valley were plowed up and scattered everywhere. Muyin used his Earth Dun technique, passing through layers of thick soil, pursuing relentlessly while cursing under his breath. "Damn you, monster!" Seeing Suhi running for his life ahead, he gritted his teeth in fury. "Cunning beast! Leading me on a wild goose chase through this damned cave for so long. The treacherous terrain, the narrow spaces, forcing me to constantly use the Earth Dun technique." As he gave chase, he thought, "My Zhun Qi is depleting too quickly. I need to end this fight quickly." Mu Yin roared, "Demon, stop. Return the treasure." Suhi swallowed the serpent fruit tree and desperately ran forward, carefully calculating in his mind as he fled. The treasure in his belly gradually quieted down, seemingly no longer having the strength to cause trouble. Suhi imagined the scene of himself tightly kanrao around that Mu Yun, forcing him to spit out the serpent fruit tree, then paused in thought. But simply running away like this wasn't a good plan. He had to find a way to kill him, to eliminate any future threats. A demonic beast, if it wanted to deal with a human cultivator, the best method was to get close to engage in direct combat. Although he was chasing him, he always maintained a ranged attack distance of more than 10 meters. Seeing Mu Yun gradually closing in, Suhi speculated that this distance was the safety zone he had set for himself. Then he could cleverly slow down to make him lower his guard, then take advantage of his unpreparedness. Noticing Suhi's slowing pace, Mu Yun let out a cold sneer. "Humph, the beast's speed has decreased," he spat disdainfully. "He must be running out of steam." "If you swallowed the beast taming ring," Mu Yun growled, "I'll rip your guts out." With that, he swiftly drew a golden talisman. Mu Yun muttered to himself, "The priority now is to retrieve the beast taming ring and capture this brat." With that thought, he roared, his commanding voice echoing throughout the area. "Heavenly Gong Windblade, Tiangang Fing Rei." The talisman in Mu Yun's hand suddenly emitted a blinding light. Razor-sharp azure rays of light, swift as lightning, shot straight toward Suhi. The azure light bombarded Suhi's tail, but strangely, he seemed completely unharmed. Suhi secretly rejoiced. "This is my chance." The azure rays continued to shoot down like a relentless downpour. Suhi, quick as a whip, curled into a ball, dodging the blinding flash of light. The earth-shattering blow landed on the ground, cutting through the earth like a knife through tofu, sending debris and dust flying everywhere. Witnessing this scene, Mufin couldn't help but gasp, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. What? The heavenly steel wind blade. A martial skill that can easily take the life of any mid-stage demonic beast. Couldn't even scratch one of its scales. Seeing Su-hee still nimbly escaping unharmed, Mu Yun continued his relentless pursuit. Doubt rose in his heart. What exactly is that scale? How can it be so incredibly tough? Enraged, he drew another magical treasure, the Serpent Slayer's sword. This sword had a blade that undulated like a venomous serpent's body, incredibly sharp. Mu Yun roared, "Demon, do you think I fear you?" Mu Yun tightened his grip on the Serpent Slayer's sword. Spiritual energy surged and coalesced, gradually forming a gigantic serpent, coiling around the sword, emanating a terrifying killing intent. He said coldly, "I initially intended to capture you alive, but if you stubbornly seek death, don't blame me for being ruthless. This treasured sword of mine has slain countless serpents. Their vengeful spirits are screaming." After the arduous tempering process, the sword finally left its sheath. Mu Yun swung the sword, aiming directly at Su-hee. Countless illusory giant pythons, as transparent as crystal, suddenly materialized in midair. He spoke in a condescending, arrogant tone. "To die by this blade of mine today, you should feel honored." Witnessing this, Su-hee refused to be intimidated. He raised his head, baring his sharp teeth at his opponent with an overwhelming aura. His powerful tail blocked the full force of the attack. Seeing Su-hee's tail completely unharmed, Mu Yun was utterly shocked. How is this possible? Why couldn't it cut through? He looked back at his sword to find it broken in two. He gritted his teeth. "My sword, how could this happen?" Enraged, Su-hee opened his mouth wide and roared furiously. "You are not worthy to touch my scales." With that, he swung his tail, sending Mu Yun flying. The jade pendant on Mu Yun's body also flew off. Mu Yun was sent flying for dozens of feet. He landed pathetically, half kneeling and half sitting on the ground in a miserable state, clutching one hand tightly in the other. Mu Yun saw the serpent's tail writhing before his eyes. "My Yuan Tan sword? Is it broken?" The old man gasped. "I exhausted all my Zhen Qi to block that attack, yet I'm still gravely injured." He stared intently at Su-hee, terror filling his heart. "Impossible. This is no ordinary snake demon. Could it be a Jiaolong hatchling?" The thought made Mu Yun's scalp tingle. He made a swift decision. "We have to run. We need to get back to the surface. But my remaining Zhen Qi, will it be enough to use Earth Escape?" Mu Yun scanned his surroundings, searching for an escape route. Suddenly, he looked up and gasped in astonishment. Directly above, there was a cave. A glimmer of hope sparked within him. He exclaimed with joy, "Heaven helps us." Mu Yun thought to himself, "I must report what happened here to the sect immediately." In this urgent situation, he swiftly unleashed his divine abilities, chanting the wind, controlling incantation, and launching himself into the air. But just as Mu Yun left the ground, his body was blocked by a dense barrier, as hard as rock. Astonishment was clearly written across his face. "This isn't the snake skin." Mu Yun recalled the scene of the giant python opening its massive jaws, spitting out the divine serpent fruit tree, after which its body began to undergo a bizarre transformation. Indeed, this is the moment that beast is breaking through its realm. He was trying to find a way to escape the impenetrable snake skin when suddenly a sense of unease crept into his mind, as if a mysterious gaze was following him. Mu Yun recalled the moment the monstrous beast sneered, and goosebumps erupted on his skin. A sharp pain tore through his heart, reaching his very core. Mu Yun spun around, horrified to see Su-hee had bitten off his own arm and plunged into the abyss. In that moment, it dawned on him, could this cunning beast have planned this all along? The two stood precariously on the cliff edge when a blood-curdling scream ripped through the air, echoing in their ears. "Ah!" Song Shiyu cried out in terror. It sounds like senior brother's cry for help." Zhao Wenjua immediately retorted. "Impossible. Senior brother possesses profound cultivation. How could he be in trouble?" Suddenly, a colossal pillar of fire erupted near them, billowing black smoke rising into the sky. Along with it came the familiar sound of an exploding talisman. Zhao Wenjua turned, gasping. Mu Yun quickly jumped up. Seeing the figure emerge from the smoke and flames, both exclaimed in unison, "Senior brother!" Mu Yun's face was etched with horror. He clutched his bleeding wound, running for his life and yelling, "Run! Run away! Down there! There's a young flood dragon!" Song Ti Vu's face paled in astonishment. A young flood dragon?" she stammered. A young flood dragon? A young flood dragon's power is at least at the nascent soul realm. If that's true, how? How can we possibly survive? Zhao Wenju's face was a mask of pure terror. He grabbed Song Ti Vu and pulled her along, frantically shouting, "Senior sister, there's no time for doubt." Seeing senior brother's state, "We need to run now." Seeing Mu Yun sprinting ahead, Zhao Wenju tugged at Song Ti Vu's arm, urging, "Senior sister, let's go the opposite way." Song Ti Vu reluctantly agreed. "There's no other choice. We have to." Sui arrived at the edge of the pit, his face filled with regret. Damn it. I didn't expect him to activate the explosive talisman, even with a missing arm, if he escapes this time. Dire consequences, unavoidable disaster. Mu Yun rushed towards the edge of the abyss. Just get past this, and he'd escape. The demon serpent was still hundreds of feet away. It definitely couldn't catch up. He had to get back to his sect quickly. Clutching his wounded arm, he gritted his teeth in pain, cursing, "Damn beast, you're dead." Mu Yun's furious image was clearly reflected in the Serpent King's eyes. Suddenly, a stream of pale green slime from the Serpent King's mouth shot straight towards Mu Yun. Terror seized him. He screamed in horror. Mu Yun rolled on the ground, the poisoned wound causing him excruciating pain. He cursed himself, muttering, "Damn it. Even though its head was severed, it can still attack with venom. How could I make such a rookie mistake?" Mu Yun frantically rummaged through his pockets, searching for an antidote. In the midst of detoxifying, found it. Just as he swallowed the antidote, he suddenly spotted the snake demon closing in from behind. This is bad. The snake demon is about to catch up. Mu Yun frantically pulled out a strange, fist-sized orb. He had originally intended to use this object for cultivation, but now he could only feel regret. At this point, there was no other choice but to use his last resort, a high-grade protective spiritual treasure. He quickly absorbed the immense energy from the spiritual treasure. Then, with a roar, "Activate!" The treasure activated, and he shot off with incredible speed. Witnessing this scene, Sui couldn't help but feel extreme anxiety. His speed is outrageous. He bent down, trying to pull out the golden scale with his mouth, but failed. That guy must die. There's only one way now. Sui mustered all his strength and launched the golden scale towards Mu Yun. Looking at Mu Yun desperately fleeing, Sui sneered as he saw the golden scale about to hit its target. Trying to run? The sharp golden scale pierced Th. Sui declared resolutely, his voice filled with certainty. "Today, you will die here." Mu Yun turned his head, crimson blood trickling down the corner of his mouth. Witnessing countless golden scales hurtling towards him like a storm, utter terror filled his eyes. He cried out in despair. "No!" Each sharp golden scale pierced through Mu Yun's body. Sui approached Mu Yun's lifeless body, muttering, "What's with the moaning? He's been in agonizing pain. He must be dead by now. But what if the corpse rises?" Sui slammed his tail against Mu Yun's body. Better crush the body first. So there's no worry about it rising again. He sighed, lamenting the loss of his golden scales. "I wonder if they'll grow back." Sui opened his mouth wide, devouring Mu Yun along with the golden scales. "Eat first, worry later. Hopefully, I'll gain what I consume." A small pouch fell from Mu Yun's body. Sui picked it up and examined it, realizing it was a dainty little pouch, exquisitely embroidered with flowers. He muttered to himself, "Oh, isn't this that person's storage pouch? This storage pouch must be filled with precious treasures. I have to see what's inside." Sui used his tail to tightly wrap around the pouch, holding it securely. Two golden rays of light flashed from his eyes. "This is a spiritual imprint. I must erase the previous owner's spiritual imprint and imprint my own onto it." Suddenly, a deep voice echoed throughout the space. "Little one, live well." Sui startled, looking up with a surprised expression. "Huh? What was that sound?" The sound came from Lao Shi Wang, whose body was slowly withering away. "Little one, keep living." Sui cautiously approached, softly calling out Lao Shi Wang. Suddenly, Sui's mind went blank. Pitch-black darkness enveloped him. Memories that seemed long forgotten gradually resurfaced with clarity. The image of the serpent fruit tree, radiating brilliant light across the sky, appeared before his eyes. It was from 3 years ago, At that moment, the serpent fruit had ripened, forming two enormous fruits, radiating a brilliant glow. Back then, my consciousness hadn't yet awakened. I acted purely on instinct driven to consume. But suddenly, a swarm of serpents surged forward like a tidal wave. Countless serpents intertwined and piled upon each other, creating a massive sea of snakes. Each one was incredibly ferocious, their eyes glowing blood red. Even he was forced into a bloody, exhausting battle. The alluring fragrance of the serpent fruit had attracted nearly every snake in the 10,000 Serpent Valley. Amidst the perilous 10,000 Serpent Valley, only two fortunate beings remained alive. Needless to say, this signaled the imminent start of a bloody massacre. A colossal serpent suddenly appeared. Its body as massive as a small mountain. And in that very moment, a deafening roar tore through the air, echoing throughout the valley. The Serpent King had arrived. His earth-shattering presence overwhelmed everything, forcing every living creature to tremble in fear. All the serpents immediately ceased fighting, prostrating themselves on the ground, not daring to move. I myself was so terrified that I trembled uncontrollably, unable to take another step forward. Suhi's face was etched with astonishment as he gazed at the ripe, glistening serpent fruit right before his eyes. The surrounding snakes, witnessing this scene, couldn't help but feel consumed by envy and jealousy, but didn't dare to make a move. But the Snake King bestowed upon me the snake fruit. Thanks to that divine fruit, I am who I am today. In the Snake King's eyes, Suhao's image appeared. That day, I ate the snake fruit under the envious gazes of my brethren. Since ancient times, snakes have been known for their selfishness, apathy, and ruthlessness. Even those sharing the same bloodline would readily kill each other. The strongest would be the last one standing. But in the Snake King's eyes, there wasn't a trace of coldness. Suhao looked into the Snake King's lifeless eyes and softly asked, "Why? Why were you so kind to me?" Time seemed to stand still. Suhao fell silent, his heart heavy with sorrow. Suhao trembled as he placed his hand on the Snake King's cold body, an unbearable grief welling up within him. This indescribable emotion continued to build, finally transforming into... Sui's face was filled with indignation, his eyes brimming with tears. His voice, as hard as steel, rang out. "You snake catchers, Suhi, swear I will never share the same sky with you." Under the shade of a giant ancient tree, 3 stones were stacked on top of each other, from largest to smallest. Suhi sighed. "Phew, that should do it." Suhi stood before the 3 stones and bowed his head. "Old Snake King, I'm following human customs and erecting a tombstone for you. I hope in your next life, you'll be reincarnated as a human." Suhi murmured, his tone resolute. "I think I understand your last words to me. All sentient beings care for their descendants. I remember. Later, if I become strong enough, I will definitely pass it on to the next generation. You can rest in peace and watch over this mortal world." Sheer cliffs rose on either side, covered in lush, dense vegetation. Suhi couldn't help but worry. "But with my current strength, it's not enough. The 10,000 Snake Valley has been discovered by those snake hunters. This place isn't safe. We can't stay here any longer." Suhi was just passing a large boulder when he suddenly spotted a woman lying motionless on the ground. Countless snakes were writhing around her, even crawling over her body. He gasped in astonishment. Isn't that Song Shiyu, the one who escaped? She's barely breathing, clinging to life by a thread. I'm afraid she won't make it." Looking at her trembling body curled up on the ground, Suhi began to contemplate. "If I devour her, perhaps my golden scales will grow back quickly." No, she clearly escaped. Yet she suddenly appears here. What if this is a trap? Seeing the snakes slithering closer and closer to Song Shiyu, Suhi grew even more wary, pondering carefully. Or maybe she has some kind of restriction placed on her? No, I can't be greedy. Suhi suddenly thought of Ding Hai. Then there was Mu Yun, who was killed by the Snake King's potent venom. Suhi questioned himself. Didn't Zhao Wenjue frame Ding Hai to death last time? Could he be behind this as well? And the Snake King's severed head, could it have been intentionally placed at the exit? Suhi couldn't make sense of it. But why would Zhao Wenjue do such a thing? Just as this thought crossed his mind, he turned to look at Song Shiwu, only to witness a horrifying scene. She was being swallowed whole by a gigantic serpent. Suhi screamed in terror. "Don't eat her!" But it was too late. An earth-shattering explosion ripped through the air, the serpent's head exploding into pieces. So he was utterly horrified. This was Zhao Wenjua's trap after all, incredibly sinister. Sui was tormented by the question, what was he truly plotting? Elsewhere, Zhao Wenjua was kneeling before a tombstone, his face a mask of despair and pain. He murmured, that deafening explosion. It seems Song Shiwu is dead. Father, mother, little sister, I have avenged you all. Zhao Wenjua kowtowed respectfully before the moss-covered tombstone, one hand still tightly gripping the snake's body. His voice, low and resonant, called out each name, Chun Shui, Ding Yu, Song Shiyu. Muyan has gone to the Yellow Springs to join you all. Only two remain, Chen Daoling and his disciples. I will not spare a single one of them. His hand tightened around the neck of the snake, its mouth gaping wide. Zhao Wenjua bid farewell to the departed. The time is almost here. It's time for me to return. The next day, the young man reappeared outside the Valley of 10,000 Snakes. Zhao Wenjua stood silently before the carcass of the snake that had swallowed Song Shiyu. Blood and flesh were splattered everywhere, the stench overwhelming. A cold smile crept across his lips. Chen Daoling must be arriving soon. Zhao Wenjua gritted his teeth, enduring the pain, grabbed the snake's head, and bit hard into his own arm. Next, I just need to lure the snakes to bite me. Zhao Wenjua collapsed face first onto the ground, fresh blood gushing from his arm, staining the earth crimson. The venomous snake, after striking, quickly slithered away and disappeared. A weak groan escaped his lips as he feebly cried for help. Ugh, master, save me. Half an hour later, in a deep ravine with steep cliffs on either side, dense trees and echoing thunder filled the air. Master, we still haven't found any trace of senior brother. Senior sister's breath has completely vanished. Junior brother is still alive. Finally, they found Zhao Wenjua. Someone quickly supported his head, holding a medicinal pill in their hand, preparing to give it to their junior brother. The person sighed in relief. Thankfully, there's still a faint breath. Quickly, take this antidote. Then circulate your energy to heal your wounds. Rest for a few months, and your life will be out of danger. Zhao Wenjua murmured, his voice incredibly weak. Master, I'm useless. Mulei quickly interrupted. Don't speak. Chen Daoling was furious, his eyes bloodshot with rage. The old man roared, his voice filled with rage. This is unacceptable. Which vile demon dares to slaughter 72 of my disciples? I swear I will skin and bone that fiend and offer its living soul to the heavens. Deep within a gloomy cave in the Tiexiong Mountains, faint light from the outside trickled into the entrance, creating an unusually still atmosphere. Suddenly, a sigh broke the silence. Finally, I've returned to my own peak. That snake catcher, he must still be at Wanshigu. Hiding here should be safe. So he looked at the snake fruit tree he had painstakingly cultivated. He examined it carefully. It seems this snake fruit tree isn't dead yet. The environment here is quite similar to where it grew before. Hopefully it can survive. Suhi used his tail to upend the storage bag he had obtained after the recent great battle. Excitement was evident on his face. Let's see what treasures lie within this storage bag. Turns out, it's all food and miraculous elixirs. This amount should be enough for me to cultivate for a while and restore my brilliant golden scales. He muttered, right, there's still the beast taming ring. Maybe I can tame demonic beasts and make them my underlings. So he suddenly noticed on the ground an ancient book bearing the mark of time. The title of the book was 10,000 Snakes Chronicle. He softly asked, what is this book record? Sui's expression was filled with astonishment as he flipped through the pages. He exclaimed with joy, this book is amazing. It records all kinds of snakes, including a type that has demonic fire within its body, capable of spitting out extremely potent venomous fire. Ordinary people would die instantly if they come into contact with it. So I'm a black eel snake. Sui saw the image of a gigantic python, Jirmong Jimong, being sliced in half by a man with a sword. He whispered, finally, this snake was slain by that ancestor and refined into a pill. It turns out, even if a great demonic snake could breathe demonic fire and reach the foundation establishment stage, could still be eradicated by humans. Right now, the most crucial thing is to increase his strength. If he could master some spells, that would be even better. So he used his tail to pick up a jade scroll beside him, his face full of curiosity. This jade scroll radiated a brilliant aura, looking quite extraordinary. He wondered if it could be of any help to him. Then, Suhi used his divine sense to probe inside. His expression suddenly filled with astonishment. These were all cultivation techniques of immortal cultivators. There were even extremely detailed cultivation instructions. Sui's eyes lit up. I'm not like ordinary demonic beasts. I possess intelligence no less than humans. These spells, I can definitely learn them. 1 month later, on the branch of an ancient tree, a small bird perched, chirping merrily, vigilantly observing its surroundings. Suddenly, a voice rang out, earth-style, underground movement. A mouse digging in the earth was startled to see Suhi moving swiftly underground. A look of intense concentration was evident on Suhi's face. After more than a month of arduous training, my earth-done technique is much faster now. Mu Yun, the golden scales on your tail have fully grown. A jet-black tail, sleek and agile, slithering through the earth. Sui grinned. Earth-in technique combined with this earth-burrowing tail. My speed is twice as fast as those ordinary snake catchers. They'll never catch me. Suhi poked his head out of the ground and spotted a bird perched nearby. Suddenly, a rumbling, gurgling sound came from Suhi's stomach. So hungry. Too bad my spiritual energy is still so low. Right now, the earth-done technique can only last for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. But as a trump card, it should still be enough. Suhi opened his mouth and shot a fireball towards the bird. The bird let out a terrified shriek, then burst into flames and turned to ashes in the blazing fire. My fireball technique is pretty well practiced too. But according to the myriad serpent secrets, after the black Een snake reaches the foundation establishment stage. But it feels like only a few short days have passed. Suhi was savoring a delicious roasted chicken leg when an uninvited guest suddenly appeared before him. Little wolf, tell me, why are there so many unfamiliar footprints in front of the den lately? With just you alone, how could? The voice trailed off. Sui's eyes met with a gigantic wolf, its entire body radiating a powerful spiritual aura, baring its sharp fangs and claws as it advanced towards him. Sui couldn't help but feel a jolt of fear. This Wolf King was no ordinary wolf. It was the Yu Chonglang, a powerful demonic beast proficient in magic. Sui scoffed, But unfortunately, I'm no ordinary demon either. He pulled out an ancient beast-taming ring from his storage pouch, his eyes flashing with a terrifyingly dignified look. Suhi cast a gravitational spell, thinking to himself, today's just the right time to subdue a disciple from Mountain Patrol. As if sensing the impending danger, the Wolf King opened its jaws wide, letting out an earth-shattering roar. Suhi threw the beast-taming ring, the glittering ring flying swiftly forward. Catch it for me. You alone cannot escape this beast-taming ring. A collar quickly tightened around Lang Wang's neck. He struggled, trying to break free, but Suhi immediately ordered him to lie down. Lang Wang roared in fury, but then he obediently sat still, seemingly completely tame. Suhi, wag your tail. He immediately extended his tail. Here, grab my tail. Lang Wang immediately obeyed. Then, Suhi began issuing a series of commands for Lang Wang to perform. Congratulations and get rich. Play dead. His expression gradually turned sinister. Haha, this beast-taming ring is really quite interesting. Suhi, ride on Lang Wang's back and take me on a patrol around the mountain. Lang Wang obediently carried him past a white waterfall. Suhi observed his surroundings with sharp eyes. The wild boars have piglets, and the sika deer, the roe deer herd has more than a dozen fawns. The mountain goats are neither too many nor too few. The rabbit population has reached the hundreds. Excellent, excellent. This self-sufficiency plan is truly effective. Suddenly, he caught a faint scent. A thought flashed through his mind. Strange. Why is that scent so familiar? Suhi spotted a white snake and muttered to himself thoughtfully. Could it be Xiao Bai, she from the Wanshi Gu? Why would she follow my scent here? With her current appearance, she must be a Hei Inshi now. It's just that her color has changed. He approached Xiao Bai Shi. She hasn't fully transformed into a demon and gained sentience yet, so she can't talk yet. Judging by her appearance, she's probably my descendant. Xiao Bai Shi joyfully coiled around Suhi. He awkwardly explained to the Wolf King, if she's my descendant and we're fated to meet, it's only natural for a senior like me to take care of her a little. Goodness, have some decency in public. But the Wolf King suddenly let out a ferocious roar, making Su Bai terrified. Suhi immediately ordered, why are you scaring her? Shut up. Smile. The Wolf King reluctantly complied, but his smile was rather frightening. Defeated, Suhi removed the taming ring. Stop smiling, it's creepy. I can use this taming ring to give you your freedom, but you have to agree to one condition. He seriously stated the first condition. 1. You must willingly become my subordinate. Every day, you must hunt for me and bring the spoils to my cave. 2. You must patrol this mountain for me every day. If any trace of humans appears within 10 kilometers, you must immediately report it to me. If you fail to do so, I will kill you. The Wolf King immediately nodded in agreement. Sui then commanded, Taming ring. Retract. The Wolf King howled joyfully. Sui yelled in frustration. Stop licking. Inside a limestone cave deep within the Tieshion Mountains. Sui said to Xiao Bai, From now on, you'll stay here. I've just cast a protective spell on this tree. I'll also teach you some basic cultivation techniques. From this day forward, you can safely reside in this cave. Take care of the snake fruit tree and focus on your cultivation. When I have food, you will too. Don't worry about going hungry. The little white snake, Xiao Bai, happily nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, atop the southern peak of Wanshigu, someone was using a compass-shaped artifact to absorb spiritual energy and enhance their magical powers. Shin Daoling spoke up. Unfortunately, after Zhao Wenjue woke up, he could only provide a vague image of the demonic beast. Otherwise, with the power of this treasure-seeking compass, we wouldn't have to waste so much time searching. Mu Lei said. Junior brother said that when his older brother escaped from underground, he said the creature was a young Jiao dragon. Chun Dowling retorted, That's absolutely impossible. If it truly is a Jiaolong, then forget about them. Even I would struggle to escape calamity facing it. There wouldn't be a shred of hope for escape. I suspect it's just a snake demon that has gained sentience, or perhaps possessed by a cultivator harboring a bit of spiritual awareness. Mulai explained, My brother told him that, probably just out of shame from his defeat. Just then, the compass suddenly detected a strange light pillar within the dense forest. Shin Dao Ling responded with a, Found it. It must be in the mountain ahead. He ordered, Let's split up and search from both sides of the mountain. If you find a snake demon, inform me immediately. Mulei quickly jumped down. Yes, master. The scorching sun beat down directly overhead. Mulei ventured deeper into the forest, sensing with his heart. He could feel a faint, eerie aura of the snake demon lingering nearby. He just wasn't sure if it was the same snake demon they were looking for. Suddenly, the Wolf King appeared. Its mouth agape, drool dripping, it let out terrifying howls. Mulei quickly hid behind a giant tree. Watching the pack of Wolf Kings approach, savagely howling, he frowned in annoyance. His hands began to weave magic, a mystical purple aura enveloping and suppressing the wolf demons. The leading demon, commanding this unruly pack. Could it be related to that foolish demon, the snake demon, Xiao, overestimating themselves, daring to come here to die? He cast a spell, a purple light enveloping the nearest wolf. The thunder seal instantly exploded. Lightning bolts spreading out, electrocuting the wolves. Witnessing this, the Wolf King panicked and fled with a mournful howl. Mulei watched, his eyes cold. Trying to run? As the Wolf King ran, it thought to itself, How terrifying! He Xiao's power is monstrous. I must inform He Xia Xiao. Ahead was an abyss. Just as the Wolf King leaped into the abyss, Mulei timely launched a thunder seal, striking its tail. The thunderous seal struck down. The agonizing pain made the Wolf King howl in misery, tears streaming down his face. Suhi, who was with Xiao Bai Shi, suddenly turned around, sensing something amiss. That scream just now, it was the Wolf King, he thought to himself. Something's wrong. Could it be that those snake catchers have come all the way here? So he worriedly wondered. Immediately, he dove into the ground. Xiao Bai, stay put in the cave and guard the snake fruit. Don't come out under any circumstances. His mind raced with calculations. I have to get out of here before they find me. The further away, the better. Suhi stood on the precarious cliff, using his sharp eyes to observe the situation below, lost in thought. Even if there's a fight, I absolutely can't fight here. I wonder how this person's strength compares to Mu Yun's. Suhi expanded his divine sense, probing the surroundings. I've caught the opponent's divine sense. Two streams of divine sense unexpectedly collided. On the other side, Mu Lei smirked, thinking to himself, Finally found you. He dashed into the dense forest, his hand secretly tightening around a small bell. Although, just as his master had warned, this was only a 4th-level snake demon, He had also been instructed not to act rashly. Just stall for the time it takes an incense stick to burn, and his master would arrive. Secretly send a message first, then figure out the next move. Muley saw Su by running away, and muttered, running away? But not very fast. Muley quickly assessed the situation. This kid and those 7 snakes are truly cunning. Not only do they possess exceptional fighting abilities, but they also deliberately feign weakness to lure their opponents into a trap. Waiting for a chance to counterattack, I must be very cautious. Playing weak, huh? I can do that too. And not just that, I can even play the pig to eat the tiger. Muley flew after Su Bai, who was frantically running ahead. Just a 4th level demon. Why will my master need to intervene? I'm already at the 6th level of chi refining. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Su Bai glanced back, thinking to himself, this guy's cultivation level is almost on par with Mu Yun's, but his speed isn't even half of Mu Yun's. He's clearly pretending. What nonsense is this idiot spouting? And his master will intervene? Does he mean his master is coming? Su-hei still has to use Earth Escape. I think this guy is more cunning than Mu Yun. Not by much, but we can't take any chances. Let's run at full speed first and see how he reacts. If he dares to chase us with all his might, then we'll, Muley raised his hand, preparing to unleash the Thunder Seal. Suddenly, he accelerated. Trying to run? Little thief, where do you think you're going? Stop right there. He soared into the air, unleashing furious bolts of lightning. The Thunder Seal exploded. Su-hei was startled, thinking to himself, this is bad. He's lost his patience. The power of this magical treasure is no less than my fireball technique. Muley quickly used Earth Escape, burrowing into the ground in pursuit. I will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. You-hoo, no matter the cost. You will not escape my grasp. You wretched little punk, if you have the guts, stand and fight me fair and square. I don't need magical treasures to take your life. Witnessing this, Su-hei suddenly changed direction, clearly using all his strength to give chase. In that case, the path ahead is no longer your escape route. Muley froze, his body stiff. His eyes fixated on Su, he who was approaching with terrifying speed.